I was pleased to hear Commissioner C, Commissioner Chang, and Chairwoman Sweat all mention advanced transmission technologies. And we all know that there haven't always been the built-in economic incentives to put some of those things onto the grid, despite the fact that they can all often have very outsized and efficient impacts on how we utilize the existing grid in a way that doesn't require enormous economic upgrades. So I wanted to ask if you wanted to add anything to that conversation, and also what would be helpful from Congress in terms of congressional action to reinforce a posture of incentivizing these technologies. Commissioner C, do you want to jump on that first? You were the first to mention it, so.
Happy to, Senator Heinrich. I think when we look at our reliability and affordability challenges, it's certainly necessary that we need to build new infrastructure, and that's expensive. So nobody's denying that. But there's also a really important moment for us to make the most out of the existing infrastructure, and that's when ATTs gets these technologies can be incredibly helpful. They're not always the best solution, but they are, and they can give significant speed and cost savings to customers. So I was really grateful that my colleagues and I were able to come together and include more language about that in the 206 orders we talked about to make sure that utilities take a hard look at these options when they're considering transmission upgrades. In terms of what more can be done, FERC has limited authorities in this area, so we can encourage, we can incentivize, but if Congress, if this is an issue Congress wants to take up and gives FERC more clarity and authorities, I would love to see us to be able to run in this direction, because I think it can be so helpful for both reliability and affordability.
Very helpful. Do either of the Chair one.
Thank you for the question, Senator. I fully agree with you and Commissioner C on this one. We're looking at GETS from every angle, and we recently had a software conference where I had a panel added to have panelists specifically who have experience implementing GETS in their utilities and their markets to see how that's playing out, the economics associated with it, and I think it's getting a lot of traction. The biggest barrier, to answer your question at a finer point, the Federal Power Act prohibits FERC explicitly from mandating building of any particular transmission facility except for the backstop siting authority. And it is my personal opinion as a lawyer that GETS fall under that category. So until Congress changes that prohibition, FERC's not really able to instruct anything more aggressively.
But you can force the analysis, which
Correct.
Can then show the most efficient economic path.
And we have required that type of analysis in our June order.
I think that's been very helpful. Commissioner Chang.
Great, thank you very much, Senator, for that question. I too support the use of advanced transmission technology. More than support, I think it's time that we take pilot projects and the industry takes pilot projects and really implement the most advanced technologies to save consumers money. Again, if U.S. wants to be a leader in technology, this is another set of technology that we can lead in the industry. When it comes to, certainly, I think if Congress wants to work on this, we would be very happy to implement any particular changes. Under the current authority, when transmission owners and developers come to FERC and request for incentives, I think there is some room for FERC to ask the transmission owners and developers to demonstrate and illustrate or to explain what technologies they're implementing and what else they have considered and why they are not adopting the best technologies available.
Great. No, I appreciate that.
And we've talked a lot about grid efficiency and GETS and advanced transmission technologies. Not only is that going to save people money, but also when we do need to build something, Americans, consumers, they're smart. They want to know that you really needed that wire before you put a new wire in. And those wires or pipelines or whatever it is, power plants, they have big impacts. And so we need to show people and be transparent that we tried everything we could. We got every last ounce of efficiency out of the grid before we did something.
Very good, thank you.
Cost and it doesn't go to other consumers. We've talked a lot about advanced transmission technologies and GETS. We have a strong requirement in our orders to show cause. It actually goes further than any commission order on consideration of gets. And it does that by not just asking the utilities to consider an alternative to spend, but also use a power flow study that can actually model the advanced transmission technology, and provide a public report on why you couldn't do it if you can't do it.